Welcome back to Young Old.
I was thinking about how whenever I don't start this podcast, it goes terribly awry. And I think it's because I need to feel like I'm in control of where the ship is being steered.
Last pod, things went off the...
Because Robert started.
You eat before?
I had a chicken empanada.
Okay, because we're not doing...
After last pod, we kind of like reverse engineered that a lot of the problem was that Dana hadn't eaten. Not to dodge accountability myself.
Are you going to be rude to her foot this episode?
No. In fact, I've insisted that at one point in this podcast, Dana just stick her entire foot directly onto my face, and then I have to leave it there for the rest of the pod.
You know how when
she's gonna feel
someone
rejected.
misspeaks, it's called like foot and mouth syndrome?
Yeah.
That's a version of that, where it was foot on leg syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you didn't want my foot on your leg, and that caused you to make me upset.
Yeah, foot and leg syndrome.
Leg syndrome.
It's a medical issue.
Anyway, welcome back to Young Old.
Two sisters talk about dumb shit. We hope you like it. Cause if not, then we'll kill ourselves and the blood will be on your hands. Young Old!
Welcome back to Young Old.
Okay, well, right before we started, I'm auditioning for a Christian. Can I say that? Or are they going to be
No,
mad
you
at
can
me?
say it.
You can say that.
They're not going to watch our podcast.
They're definitely not going to watch our
The
podcast.
Christian film aren't watching
Auditioning for a
this.
Christian movie, and then I was like, maybe I'm not Christian, but maybe they'll want to make me Christian. And then Dana was like, well, Jesus hung out with sinners because people who were perfect didn't need him. That's why I feel fine hanging out with you and Robert.
Because we're sinners.
Because we're sinners. And I'm like,
you need
bruh.
Dana
You
gets
need me to
calls
show
all
you how to
day
live
from
like
Okay, so in
Jesus.
this
perfect
analogy,
people.
we are Mary Magdalene or whatever, and you're Jesus.
Yeah.
What do you want me to say?
Eve is Judas and I'm Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, you're Mary Magdalene, I'm Judas.
You think you're hosting this podcast with a traitor and a whore.
No, really.
And you think you're doing charity work.
And you think you are Jesus.
Remember
This
when
podcast is the Last Supper.
Bruh.
Jesus was resting his foot on Mary Magdalene's thigh and Mary Magdalene was like, "You gonna take that off, Jesus?" And then Jesus burst into tears.
Remember that?
Remember that when that happened in
Didn't
the
someone,
Bible?
clean Jesus' feet with their hair or something?
I think a lot of people did. Oh, I went to a church one time because that's the thing about going to a lot of churches, like especially in new villages or new towns or whatever. They were cities. I don't know why I said villages. But
be
everyone
like-
has like a slightly different riff on what church is. So I remember we went to one church where the option was you could take your shoes and socks off and the priest would come by and wash your feet during church. Like it was a whole part of the church.
What if
Was
there's a
foot
guy who
washing?
like he gets his feet washed and then he like goes back in line?
Yeah.
He's like round two, baby.
Yeah.
And they have to make
loves
a
it.
rule that's like one
One
foot
wash
wash
per person.
The priest is like, "Wait a minute. Isn't this like the third time I've washed your feet?" He's like, "You didn't make the rule. You didn't make the you have to make you have to make the rule first.
I'm allowed.
You have to make the rule first if you don't want to wash my feet a bunch of times."
I'm just kind of like, why can't you wash your feet at home?
Well, I think the more idea is like you're showing that like you're humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really humble.
Who's would
humble?
not wash
The
their
priest is
feet?
humble.
The priest. So it's all for the priest to show off how humble he is.
In a way, the priest is just
Here's
showing
my
off.
thing. I'm like, don't touch my freaking feet.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's probably
Priest.
optional, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to get your feet washed, or do they make you?
No, they definitely don't make you. They don't strap you into the pew and you're like, no.
Here's my whole thing with like.
Dana's so ticklish though. Like she would be kicking
I would.
faces.
Yeah.
But here's my whole thing with things like that when they're optional. It's like, at what point do enough people opt out that the people who are opting in
Seem weird.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they have to make it mandatory so that no one.
We have to make it mandatory or it'll be weird.
Also, it's like, what if you're one of those people who like you're like, I could go for a foot wash, but then the people.
But everybody else says no, so then you seem weird.
Yeah.
And so
And then
you
it's
don't-
only you and the guy who got in line a bunch of
Me and the guy.
times.
And the priest is just watching two people's feet like 14 times.
He's just going back and forth the whole
And
time.
everyone else is just like sitting waiting.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's exactly how it
Did you
works.
get your feet washed?
I definitely did not get my feet washed. Are you
So
kidding
were
me?
opt out.
If I recall, a lot of old people were all about getting their feet washed. And look, I know the priest like didn't discriminate, but I bet in his head the priest was like, "Man, it'd be great if like one young hot person wanted their
hot
feet
girl
washed."
got her feet washed.
Could one hot girl get her feet washed
Why
for
don't
crying
the
out
hotties ever
loud?
want their feet washed?
I know.
Anyway,
It's
Also, is it just like there's so much questions about the feet
Yeah,
washing.
Yeah.
Is it just like water, or is it like does he have a whole like arsenal? Does he have
It was
like,
definitely water. It wasn't like he
his
did a
little
whole
soaps
routine.
and like his little
I
scrubber?
think
He was sponsored by Lush.
right.
Yeah.
Like does he lotion him
had
up
a foot balm.
after?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like does he
No,
like,
I
how
think-
Get
in-depth?
moisturized?
Right.
Yeah.
I think him and like his assistants, whatever they're called, would go and they just had like a basin of water. Maybe there was like something in there. I don't know.
Did
Foot
anyone ever
disciples?
get like fungus from like reused foot wash
This was a one-off. We went to this church one time. It was in a
Did
city
your
we were
parents do
visiting.
it? Did your parents get their feet washed?
Well, my dad never went to church.
Your mom got
my
her
mom,
feet
I don't
washed?
think my mom got her feet washed.
Damn.
I don't know.
Did
but
she get back
people
in
did.
line?
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem, because like even if you don't get your feet washed, that actually adds a whole element of like voyeurism, because then we're all just staring at the
Watching the
people who
feet
get their
washing.
feet
You're right.
washed. Like you're freaky enough as it is to just get your feet washed, but then like I want everyone to watch.
If I'm the priest, I'm literally like, bruh, why I gotta
Yeah.
wash all
But it's
these
like the priest made this up.
Yeah.
I guess so. I
Like
guess
this
he
isn't just like
wanted
something
to.
you do when you're a priest.
Well, and then
This, also, maybe
this
this
might
priest was
be-
a foot washer first.
Well, now that
and
you mention
then-
it, right
transitioned to
after
priest.
right after he finished washing the whole congregation's feet, he went back up front and he just went. And then just read the Bible like
The
you're supposed
priest
to.
was Quentin
Right.
Tarantino.
Yeah.
Also, like, how long did is everybody waiting for church to start? And it's like it's just
This is during.
feet
It's like there was
washing,
communion, and then there was also the feet washing thing.
Or is it like a first, like, okay, we do 30 minutes of feet washing, first come, first serve, first 30 minutes of people, that's who we wash.
I don't think it wasn't a
And then
time
there's
limit.
cut,
It
and
was
then people get their late, like, oh, he's
Yeah.
Feet washing again. There was traffic.
Yeah.
There was traffic. Me sitting in traffic being like, I should have
No, it wasn't weird. The priest just washed everyone's feet, and the priest came, and then we went right back into church service. And the funny thing about this
Again,
church,
I just want to know the percentage of opt-ins to opt-outs.
it was a low percentage of opt-ins. And then later in church,
You have to be so confident to opt in when there's a low percentage.
and then in church later, they do the thing where you turn to your neighbor and you introduce yourself. And then like I introduce myself to people. I'm like, hey, weren't you one of the freaks who opted in?
But also, if there's too many people, I'd feel bad. I'd be like, oh no, he's got a lot of people to do.
No, he did. He just went kind of pew by pew. And I think there were like
Wait, so
multiple
you're doing
priests.
that- Wait, they come to you? Like,
They come to you.
I was picturing it like
You
at the
line
door.
up.
No, it's not the door.
I was picturing
Everyone's
a line at
seated.
the door. That's why I said like, he gets back in line.
Also, it was more ceremonial. Like, if your feet are like trash, he's not gonna clean. It's not actually gonna clean them. It's more about he would go by, he would like put like a splash of water on your feet.
So he's
Me
not
with
like thoroughly
my
washing.
feet soaked in shit.
Yeah,
I get him real.
Yeah.
I get him real dirty. before I
yeah. I get him extra dirty.
I don't wash myself for like weeks.
Yeah.
before
I
the
don't
service.
really-
Wait, was the priest hot?
Probably not.
Smoking. And then he would wink at you while he was washing your feet. No, he was of course like an old bald man.
I swear, if it
Did
was,
he wear gloves or was he rawing?
I
it?
think he was rawing.
probably rawing.
Because again, he's not actually like getting in there. It's kind of like he just would have a little basin, pour some water over your feet.
we need to do young old gets their feet washed at church.
Yeah, we need to do young old gets their feet washed in church.
Well, maybe he could come here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
does he
we-
do house calls?
Yeah, he does. He does.
But then it's not a church thing. It's just like a man washing.
Okay,
No, it's a church thing. He
Feet at
messages me on
home.
Instagram every day.
He can share a mic with you and King Charles.
And you can have
Dude,
McGee.
And you can have Hugh Laurie.
Oh, that was
the guy.
We couldn't
Remember.
remember who the last cuddle upper.
Yeah,
was
we're
gonna
not a
be.
guest podcast except for one episode where we're going to have 45 guests.
They're all gonna be like weird old men.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be in
Hold
bed
up.
with us.
And they're going to be washing our
they're
feet.
gonna wash
Unless
our
you
feet.
opt out.
Unless you opt out.
Yeah.
Well,
What if only one of us
opts
opted in?
in?
Well, I feel like that'd be Dana.
No,
No, Dana's so. That's what I was saying.
Why
If
would
Dana
I
got
opt in?
her
I
feet
can't
washed
have.
at the church, she would kick the priest in the face.
It's difficult
true.
for me to even get a pedicure.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
What about a church where the priest comes around and gives everyone a pedicure to humble
I would
himself?
opt into that.
Yeah.
If it's a free petty.
Free, yeah.
I'm opting in. I say, paint those dogs,
Yeah.
bruh.
Well, if we framed it like a deal, I could see Eve opting in. It's
Oh,
a
for
free
sure.
foot wash, and Eve's like, "Well, I'd be leaving money on the table if I didn't."
Okay, not the wash, but a petty. I would get a priest petty. I
A
would.
priest petty.
Yeah, that's such a good marketing.
The fact that
tool,
like
priest petties.
obviously the church is like it has a hard time appealing to young people. It's like this is a way to turn it around. Priest petties.
Yeah.
Although-
they change foot washes into petties.
I do think priest petty is too close to priest pedo, and that might not be the vibe.
That's tea. That's tea.
Yeah.
Although they don't really seem that concerned with rebranding that. Like,
No.
isn't that weird? To
They didn't
anyone
seem
else?
well. They seem
Like,
kind of
seem really
laissez-faire about the whole
unbothered.
thing from the jump.
Yeah. Like, I would love to be as unbothered as the Catholic Church seems to be about the pedophile
Yeah.
allegations.
If you want inspiration for ignoring the haters, how about the Catholic
about
Church?
Catholic Church?
They
That's
kept
so
it moving.
real.
Yeah.
Like we don't care.
Yeah.
But actually, I think they would like priest petty because it would change the search results. Like people say
Yeah.
they did they did Frozen,
Frozen, so that
if
Walt
you
Disney
searched
cryo
Disney
Yeah.
Frozen.
wouldn't- yeah.
So then that way, if people search Disney PDF file,
Right.
Yeah.
then only the priest petty would come up.
Only the priest petty would come up. That's also why Walt Disney Animation did that movie Anti-Semitism.
Right.
So that was the first thing that came up.
why.
By the way, Dana and I looked that up.
And it's
He's
not real, you guys.
anti-Semitic.
He's not anti-Semitic.
Well, he
There's
might have been
no-
anti-Semitic,
Well, he
but
might have
there's
been.
no evidence.
proof or evidence of that.
People always talked about it like, oh, he was clearly anti-Semitic, and then we looked it up. It's like there isn't really a
Young
hard.
Old is a Walt Disney defending podcast.
You know what? I am
Well-
a Walt Disney defender because
Oh my God.
he's given us so many beautiful things.
I think. Well, with Walt Disney though.
Wait, but was he alive when those did he himself?
he
He was
wasn't
dead.
alive for
well,
long.
he wasn't alive formally, but I'm sure they showed the frozen head, a
The
cut,
movie?
you know.
Okay.
But that's one of those things that the internet talked about it with such confidence, like Walt Disney is anti-Semitic, that I kind of just took it as fact. And then we looked it up one day. It's like there actually isn't really a clear.
Okay. I also have just something I just remembered. So my second grade teacher alleged that her mom was Walt Disney's personal secretary when he was buying the land to build Disneyland.
Okay.
And she alleges, and again, sometimes I look back and I'm like, is that real? I don't know. But she alleges that she was the first kid to ever go to Disneyland with Walt Disney because her mom was Walt Disney's secretary. And they were Polish Jewish people.
Yeah.
And it seemed like she liked him. That's all.
Well,
Wait, how old is
She was my second grade teacher. She was 57 when she was my second grade teacher.
Because in my head, Walt Disney
math did
died
check
8 million
out.
years ago.
no. I mean, he had to have died in like the 80s,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
70s,
so
80s.
80s, yeah.
Well, again, Walt Disney probably was anti-Semitic. I mean, look, he probably, right? Everyone back then probably was, but it's just like there wasn't. I thought that there had to be some like clear instance of
This topic
evidence.
is off the rails.
Okay, let's pack
Let's
it up.
reel it in.
Eve's like,
I'm
Eve's like,
reeling it
how
in.
dare we try to clear Walt Disney's name? Go back to talk.
That's none of my business.
That's so Gen Z
I'm like,
of you.
that's none of my business.
Well, I'm not trying to clear his name. He
No.
probably was. I'm just
We're
saying,
just saying,
like,
the epidemic of misinformation that
I'm
spreads
just
like wildfire on the
literally
internet.
I literally don't care about Walt Disney's old
Okay.
tweets.
They're
Yeah.
tweets. Yeah,
I read
You
Walt
would
Disney's
know.
old tweets. They were bangers.
They were really funny.
Yeah, they were just
also, that
funny.
Was just, like, what people were joking about at
Yeah.
the time.
Oh my god.
He was like, "What if I drew a rat?" Lol. And then
Lol.
that's where
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse came from.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Doesn't anyone have topics?
Well, of course
I
we
had some
obviously
the
have
neighbors,
topics.
bruh.
Okay.
So
you
we have a
guys-
slight
so
update on
on the
last
neighbor
episode's development on the neighbor noise gate.
Yeah.
So previously the party was happening on a Saturday night, but last night
4:30 a.m.
4:30
though,
a.m.
in the neighborhood.
And even then, though, we were like, okay, it's the first time we've heard the noise.
And also we heard
It's a
them say,
birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. So
So we're like,
okay,
maybe
we
it's a
know the
one-off,
reason.
maybe. But then the noise kept happening, and so
Yeah, it happened on Sunday night.
night after night, and
after
finally
night, it was a
last night,
Tuesday night
Tuesday.
Literally
at
Tuesday.
11:30.
And then
What are you
until
doing on
12,
Tuesday?
actually.
Yeah, and so I decide because I don't take shit from anyone. Okay, I say we're going over there, and we're gonna tell them that they need to pipe down. Do you want to do the thing we
Well,
rehearsed?
first I was gonna go, like just me.
Well,
And then-
the
okay.
debate was who should go.
Right.
And there was a real kind of standoff
We
between
were
the
like,
three of
someone
us.
has to go knock on the door.
There
and
was
tell
not a
him, pipe
standoff.
down.
Robert never volunteered once.
I did volunteer. I'm the one who ended up doing it.
Yeah,
Let's
okay,
just.
well.
But at first we also floated the idea of all going in unison, showing up
Okay,
outside our
ready?
neighbor's front
Okay.
door, and all saying at the same time,
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Hi. Do you mind keeping it down? It's Tuesday. It's getting kind of late. You're bald.
and scene.
And scene. So imagine you're our neighbor. By the way, you have no idea we can even hear this noise. You haven't even thought about us. And suddenly you open the door at midnight and it's just the three of us going, Hi. Do you mind keeping it down? It's Tuesday. It's getting kind of late. You're bald. Imagine that.
Imagine.
And then, by the way, and then imagine finding out that those three people think you're weird.
And I've been talking shit about you on a podcast.
So basically,
That thank God hasn't blown up yet.
yeah.
Or else he would see.
So basically, yeah, he sees it. He's like, yeah, I saw what you said on that podcast. That's pretty fucked up. And I'm like, oh, really? Did you find
saw
us on
our
Reels or
podcast?
TikTok or YouTube Shorts? Please answer this survey.
You lost me and I heard on your podcast.
Yeah. But anyway, last night it was so bad and it was late. And Dana's point was, we got to go over there now because if we keep delaying, then it will only seem weirder later when we go like months in. You
Also,
know,
we're like letting resentment build, which isn't really fair to him
Yeah,
because
we're
he doesn't
sitting
even
there-
know that
He
we're
isn't even
sitting
aware.
there
Being like, who do these people think they are?
Yeah.
We're like saying horrible things about them, and it's like they have no
yeah.
idea.
We're,
that
we're,
annoying.
we're saying he's bald.
Right.
And I
calling
have
him-
Which is
rhetoric
true.
where Biter is effing his wife.
And that was where the
So-
rhetoric built. And at that point, we're like, okay, we're now creating
Okay,
scenarios
yeah.
where
Where
our
our
dog
dog
is
is
making a
effing-
cuck of him.
Right.
And he is.
And
Because he's got fur. He's
Look
got
at-
a
look
whole
at him
head
right
of
now.
fur.
He's got- he's like the opposite of bald. So anyway, it's determined at midnight after much. Well, first off, Eve's like, well, okay, let me take a shower and get dressed. And
Yeah,
then
let me
if the,
get ready for bed, and then if it's still going on, then we can.
So at first,
go
Eve gets
over.
ready for bed and she comes back in, and the music seems to be either really quiet or gone. And we have a moment of relief, and then slowly, like the drum beat in Jumanji, the beat
Literally,
starts coming
literally.
back. And we all realize, like,
We're like,
fuck.
it's Tuesday at midnight.
And
And then we rush out into the pitch darkness
Well, no,
because
first of all, we're all like putting on our coats and the Uggs, and like it's literally. And Chubs is like, he's like the face he's making. I've never seen a more terrified man. in my
Yeah.
life.
Well, because I know then the math I'm doing, like, is there a way for me to get out of doing this that wouldn't revoke my man card?
And the answer's no.
And the answer was no. But I was doing the math in my head of like, is there a scenario where I can come off looking cool and chill and masculine while also not doing this?
also, again, obviously, him trying to dodge accountability for this kind of thing would ick me out so freaking hard.
Well, I knew that. And that was the calculation I was doing. And so ultimately we go outside and we're like whispering and giggling as we run through the darkness. And then the music cuts off again.
because I think they hear us whispering.
Obviously,
and
they hear us.
giggling.
We forget that the fact that we hear them means they can also hear us. So they turn it off because it sounds like there's little gremlins in the dark
Right.
running around the perimeter of their
So
property.
then we freeze
and
in
there
our
were.
tracks.
Yeah.
And we're like, wait, it stopped. Should we still go?
Like, wait, it stopped. And on their end, it's like.
So they turn the music back on. And,
So then
and
we
we're
go.
Like, okay, we got to
and then Eve ultimately makes the decision to hang back
Because, like, I mean,
because she
y'all-
has fear in her heart.
Right. Well, first of all, I was afraid, and then
Yeah.
also I was like, okay, it's one thing if like whatever a couple goes, but then to add like the third person who's just like it just seemed like a lot. Like it just seemed like we were ganging up on him.
Yeah.
And then also I've had multiple packages delivered to their house, and I'm like, I really want to ask about them, and if I go with y'all,
She wanted to
now-
save her confrontation.
I would
She
have
wanted to
save
save
my
her confrontation.
or I could have asked at the same time, but then that would have been really.
So
weird.
what we did, it was Dana and I will say, I led the march up the steps. I rung the doorbell, and when he answered the door, I was the one who spoke and said, "Can you please keep it down?" So I did do the thing.
And I said,
I ultimately
let
did
Robert
it.
lead the
Okay.
charge.
Well,
Because
you didn't
ultimately-
let- I
And
did
when he
it.
was describing it, he was like, and I had a clear bass in my voice.
I had a clear bass in my voice. I wasn't like being like, "Oh, would you mind?" I was like, "Hey, do you mind keeping it down?"
Robert punched him in the face.
Right.
Yeah.
He opened the door. Robert decked this
spanked
man.
him.
He
Yeah.
said,
On
"Turn
his-
around. Let me see your rump."
Yeah.
And he whacked
I
the
said,
frick out of it.
he opens the door and I say, "Quiet or spank?" And he goes, "What?" I'm like, "You have two options."
What if he said spank and then you spank him and then he turns it up?
Then he turns it. Well, then that's fair and square. You know, that's that. Then
That was the
then he
deal
took
that
the
was
deal.
struck.
But no, I said turn it down. I said it with the bass of my voice, and the door was closed. And so to me, I did the thing. I did what I had to do. I stepped up as a man.
but
And
then
then
afterwards-
but then afterward, he was like acting like I made him do that.
was
Who
like, I can't
cares what happens
believe-
afterwards? I did the thing.
Because it's all about the decorum. It's not like, again, Robert acts like it's a pass fail. Like
It
I
is a pass
did it
fail.
or I didn't.
It's
But
a
it's
pass
like-
fail for the man card. Either I went over to the neighbor and knocked on the door and told him to quiet down, or I
You
didn't.
got your man card,
And I
but
did.
did you obtain it with dignity?
But now we're moving the goalposts. We can't be adding all these little caveats. Either I did it and I get the card, or I didn't do it. But I did it.
Well, I was saying his man card constantly hangs in the balance.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that last night it doesn't hang in the balance, I claimed it. I snatched it.
Barely.
Not why do we have to
By the
add
skin
barely?
of your teeth.
It's binary. Either I have it or I don't. And I did the thing.
No, and then he's complaining. He's like, I can't believe you made me do that. Like,
Yeah,
that
he was like, Dana backed me into a
horrible.
corner.
I was like,
what?
well, I was
the
like, oh,
situation.
God.
Like, what kind of man are you that like your whole family is being kept up late because your neighbor won't cut it out with the noise? That you wouldn't freaking.
But I did.
Grow a pair.
This is my problem. You're saying that
Yeah,
you
you
wouldn't,
did,
but I
It should have
did.
been your idea. Like, you should have instigated the confrontation. Instead, I instigated the confrontation.
Well, you said we need to go tell him to be quiet, and then I went over it, though. I did the thing.
But also, he was heavily considering letting me go.
And also,
I was okay. This to me is like the worst of both worlds. So I went over and I did it, and yet now we're talking about it as if I didn't. He considered letting Eve go.
Okay,
He
but I have
complained
one
about
more.
Dana making
I have
him.
another gripe.
Well, we're
which
still
is
on this
that-
gripe.
No.
it's connected?
It's the same gripe.
I thought you were gonna like make fun of the way I use the microwave or something.
Well,
Go
that
on.
too. But well, we'll get to
Did
that.
he use the microwave? Right?
We'll get
Oh
to
my
the
gosh,
eggs.
dude.
But my gripe is that like when it first happened, our mom was staying here, and he was like, "Oh, I was really hoping that the music would wake up your mom so that she would go over."
Again, I just was hoping that it
He
would
was
be
hoping
resolved
that
without
he
me
was
taking
hoping that
action.
An old lady
What
could
kind of man?
No,
relieve him
it's-
of his responsibilities and duties
Well,
as a
at
man.
that point, it hadn't become my responsibility yet. I was just like, oh
Well,
man,
no, it's
I hope.
always been your responsibility.
I hope. Well, but that's also it. I did it. We're now talking. I both had to suffer the awkward tension of doing it, and then I'm also getting roasted for being too big a pussy to do it. But it's like I did it. I'm like I feel like I'm getting the worst of both worlds here. Also, to me, I'm like, this is also the thing about me. I'm allowed to complain. To me, I'm like, if I were like if I was like back in the 1940s and I had to storm the beach at Normandy, I would storm the beach at Normandy. But then, yeah, afterwards, I'm going to be like, that was like crazy they made us storm the beach at Normandy.
And then
that doesn't mean I
around
didn't
you,
do it.
But all of your fellow soldiers would be like, "That's gay."
They would, but okay, but I'm still allowed to say it.
We're just saying we want one of those fellow soldiers.
Yeah.
I just am like, what happened to the strong? What happened to being strong and silent?
This is literally like
Okay,
I
true.
stormed.
And then he goes, this is why there's the male loneliness epidemic.
This is why there's the male loneliness epidemic. Because you step up, and
You
it's
still get
never good
roasted,
enough, and you still
that's
get
why
roasted.
There's a male loneliness
I literally,
epidemic.
to me, it feels like I stormed the beach at Normandy, and then I'm like, that was really crazy. And then my general is like, hey, just so you know, your soldier card is hanging in the balance. I'm like, but the balance? I just did it. I did the thing. To me, also, it's as if what I say after doesn't count, and what I say before doesn't count. It's only
Is that how
the
you want to live
action.
your life?
But
the things like
There
that,
is an interpretation of morality where it is purely the things you do that matter. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
So
I think you are what
on
you do.
paper, I did the thing.
Okay.
I stepped up. I said,
We said you got your man card. We were just debating the
saying,
dignity
but-
with which it was obtained.
It was gotten barely.
but that's what I'm saying. What's this barely notion? What's this barely? What's this asterisk?
You can complain, but we can also provide commentary. In gymnastics, when someone lands a trick, they're rated on a numerical scale.
Right, so yeah, they did
like
land
it's 1
it,
through
but
10.
how
No.
good did
But
they
in
land it?
gymnastics, they're measured based on what they do on the floor. It's not your attitude in the locker room doesn't figure into your score, and that's my problem because I did go out there and I did land the trick, but then I come back to the locker room and the coach is like, "You got that gold medal barely by the skin of your
I know
teeth."
they say that to gymnasts.
I know
there's
they say that.
gymnasts who have won gold medals, and then their like mean Russian coach
Says barely.
you barely got that.
Okay, in
And
fact,
you
you're
need to
true.
you need to not have
Well,
a
this is now a
celebratory
problem
meal.
because gymnastics coaches are famously psychopaths and pedophiles, a lot of them. So I guess that's that problem.
Well, all right.
Let us know what you think.
Let us know if you think that Robert obtained his man card with dignity.
With flying colors? Or
But no,
like
because
barely
that's moving the
obtained
goalpost.
it?
Because now it's a multiple choice question where you're like, man card with flying colors, man card barely. And I'm saying, no, it's man card, yes or no.
No, we understand.
It's binary.
You think it's binary.
it is
that's what-
binary.
this is the question we're positing to
Is
the
it binary or
listeners.
is there a scale?
But then it's almost like, why did I even bother?
Well,
Because
if
I'm
that's
like,
how you feel, but like, do you see?
But I did it.
Do you see how you're making yourself sound? Where it's like, why would I even bother? It's like. like,
Well, I
because
did
it's the
it,
right
though.
thing to do.
I did it though.
Because it's the right thing
And
to
it
do.
was the right thing to do, which is why I did it. Which means,
But
man
now
card,
you're saying
thank you.
You like regret
onto the
Okay.
eggs.
Okay, so basically, Robert, we could go.
Roast number
He bought eggs, and in my head, I'm thinking, "There's no way he's gonna make these eggs."
Well, he also bought tortillas a while back.
Yeah,
because he was
he said he was gonna make breakfast tacos with tortillas and eggs. Great, right? So allegedly, Robert has made eggs 3 times.
wait, 3 times?
Yes, none of these times have even I seen these eggs, and so we are now convinced that Robert is lying about making the eggs because, like, we don't believe he knows how to make eggs, but also we've literally
I
never
don't believe
seen.
he knows how to turn on the stove.
We've never seen the evidence that eggs have been made. And I just find that so odd. That, like, we're around him all the time, and yet we've never seen these eggs he's made. Like, what do you have to say
do
for yourself?
you see what environment I live in where suddenly, I buy eggs and tortillas, and that suddenly creates this wave of allegations and suspicion.
allegations.
I bring in eggs, and they're like, "What are you gonna do with those?" What do you mean? It's eggs and tortillas.
Yeah, but we've never seen a demonstration of you making said eggs.
okay, then
I've
one
made.
time,
Also, there is evidence that I've made the eggs. There'll be
What's
like
the
there'll be like
evidence?
a plate I
Eggs.
ate off of, and there's eggshells in the trash. So did I crack the eggs
See, that-
into the
and that's
garbage
what-
disposal and then throw the
perhaps.
shells away?
The thing is, perhaps because here's what I
You
witnessed,
think
okay?
there is an equal chance of
Okay,
me?
can we just go over
putting
the
them in the
evidence?
garbage
Can we just
disposal.
gonna go over the evidence?
So here's what I witnessed, right? I'm in the other room. He's in the kitchen. He's like, I'm making eggs. I'm like, you sure you are, bruh. Okay. And then I see him like spray the pan. So I know he knows how to spray the pan.
Okay.
That's check.
The fact that we're now going over the evidence and the allegations, like as if I'm on trial, because I am. I'm on trial every day in the young old household.
on trial for that man.
Well, you can either
card,
be on
bruh.
trial or you can go do jury duty.
Oh God.
Okay. And then he's like, what I hear, like, I don't know. I just saw the spraying of the pan, and then cut to he's eaten the eggs. The eggs are gone. In the trash, there are cracked egg shells. But like I said, he could have sprayed the pan, cracked the eggs into the sink, been on his merry way.
I could have sprayed the pan, cracked the eggs
We're
into the
just saying
sink,
we
and then
never
been on
saw-
my merry way.
We never saw the cooked eggs, and we never saw you eating. said
Why
pan
would
eggs.
you
Dana was
need
like-
to see
Dana
them?
was like, why didn't you take a picture?
Why would I take a picture of just
Dana
a
was like,
normal
I
breakfast?
take a picture of my eggs.
Yeah.
When have you taken a picture of your
When my
eggs?
breakfast looks really cute, I'll take a picture.
Okay, well, my
Well,
breakfast didn't. I didn't say they looked cute. I was just eating them for breakfast. Also, again, to me, it should be I've made the eggs until proven otherwise. And you're operating under the assumption that I have not made the eggs until proven.
I've never seen you make the eggs.
It's scrambled
And how
eggs.
come
Everyone
but
can
I'm
make
just like-
scrambled
but
eggs.
I'm just really confused. Like, how come I've only ever seen you when you're about to make the eggs?
That's
and
so,
then
it's always
after you
before
ate
and
them?
after. It's always before and
I've
after.
never
It's
seen-
always before he's
I've
gonna
never
make the
seen
eggs and
these
after the
eggs.
eggs are eaten.
Like, what are the chances of that?
The chances are so high. They're so close to 100. The chances of me buying eggs and tortillas simply to deceive you two into thinking I could make eggs, that's insane. Also, if that was my goal, I would never do that because I would know they're never going to believe I made
Just
these eggs.
seems awfully convenient that we've never seen the
Nothing
cooked
about this is
eggs.
convenient for me. None of this is convenient. And also, I don't want to justify the suspicion by taking photographic evidence of my breakfast.
But I said even if he showed us a photo, I'd be like, it's AI.
It's AI.
It's AI eggs.
Yeah.
Okay, so Robert's been making eggs.
And also, here's what else I know. If I was fully making the eggs, like
Yeah.
they're in the pan, and I called them both in and say, "Come here, see, watch me do this." They'd come in and they'd see, and they'd be like, "Okay." They wouldn't even give a shit because as soon as I prove myself, they instantly magically stop caring.
The thing is like I would have to see the process start to finish because I would think you bought eggs and then like dumped them in the pan.
Why? You would think I bought pre-made scrambled eggs
Yeah.
and dumped them in the pan.
Yeah.
You would think that. So let's review. They think my man card hangs in the balance constantly, and they think I bought pre-made scrambled eggs and dumped them in the pan to trick them into thinking I can make eggs.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right.
So what do you think, young Goldenators? Do you believe
No.
Robert
Do you think he
made
made
No,
eggs?
it's not up for debate. Whether or not I have made eggs is not up for debate.
I think what is up for the debate is there evidence that you made
No,
eggs? Which
no.
there's not.
Because there's no one collects evidence of everything they do. And also there is significant evidence that I make
But how
the
come
eggs.
we see so much proof of like the food that Eve makes herself?
Because Eve moves really slow and
So
decadently.
you're freaking Speedy Gonzalez with
Well,
your eggs.
Eve moves slow
well,
as
that's what
fuck.
I mean.
And a
It's
lot
just
of
like
times
the timeline never worked out.
And a lot of times we only see evidence because we're in a hurry and we all go into the kitchen to hurry Eve up. So we see it in that context. But you guys never rush me. I'm not in a hurry, but I move at a naturally fast
you
pace.
make and eat the eggs very quickly.
Yeah, it just seems suspicious. It's also just like
Suspiciously quickly.
I said this too, but you expect us to believe that the eggs you made were so delicious. You just like
wolfed
scarfed
them
them up
down
so
immediately.
I didn't
bad.
scarf them down. I ate them. Also, this is my also case. I'm living with two people who are deeply self-involved. So why haven't we seen the eggs? I don't know. Maybe because Dana's filming her 8th TikTok of the morning and Eve's watching an episode of Family Guy she's seen 30 times. Maybe that's why they're not aware of me.
I'm aware.
What
Where
was
you're-
that? What was that gasp?
My gasp is just me being clogged.
Well, I just clogged. Eve's eating her decadent brekkie and watching Family Guy. And as we all know, when Eve is watching her program, you don't exist, especially in the morning. We've established this. This is me making my final argument. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we've established that Eve Donnelly is awful
This is his
rude
closing
in the
argument.
morning.
Yeah.
If you say good morning to Eve, she will not respond until she's had the entirety of her brekkie.
So how would she know if Robert was
So how would
making
she even
eggs
be
or not?
aware if Chubs was making his eggs or not? Also, I'm Chubs, man. Oh, this is also what I mean. I lose either way. I'm called Chubs, and yet they also don't believe I've ever
Chubs 'cause
made
you're
or
eating
ate food.
store-bought eggs.
I don't even get the credit of being able to prepare food, but I also get called Chubs.
Let us know what you think. Did
Yeah,
he
let
make
us know.
the eggs? Did he get the man card?
Did he make the eggs? Did he get them?
To what degree did I get the man card? To what degree am I
Did you
lying
make the
about making
eggs?
scrambled eggs?
Let us know what you think.
It would be so weird to lie about making scrambled eggs.
It would be really weird, which is why
Wait,
is it
okay,
even
this
on the
actually-
table?
This is a perfect organic segue. Let's talk about the many lies of Chubs. Let's talk about when you lied to your barber.
I like how every other episode is Chubs roast session.
Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean every other? It's
Okay, no,
everyone.
It's every.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chubs likes to tell random pointless lies that add no benefit to his life whatsoever.
I tell random lies because I think it's a
He
white
thinks he's,
lie
being
to
polite.
avoid social
But then
awkwardness.
it ends up leading to more and more to a rabbit hole of lies.
Yes.
And so the most recent one that was the most insane was Robert's barber rescheduled on him. Do you want to explain?
So I made an appointment with my barber, but then when I went there, the barber wasn't there. So it was a mistake on the barber's end. So then the barber calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, sorry, I can fit you in today, but I already had plans to do something else. So I couldn't do the time, but I didn't want to be like, no, because I did want him to offer me another appointment, just not the one that day. So I said, oh, I can't today. I'm traveling. I'm going to be out of the city.
For what?
And I wasn't traveling and I wasn't going to be out of the city.
He
But I
just
just
said
thought
that
if
for
I
what?
said that, that would most organically make the barber go, okay, well, how about tomorrow? Because I didn't want to be like, well, no, I can't today. Because then there's no explanation.
But you don't
But you don't need an explanation. The fact that you feel like you need an explanation is
So
very
what?
weird.
I need an explanation for the scrambled eggs, but then I don't need an
No,
explanation
because
for
he's
the
your
barber.
But I'm your fiance and she's my sister, and we are owed an
Oh,
explanation about
God.
the eggs.
So yes,
But
I
he's
told a
random
little
man.
white lie. I told a little white lie. I was like, I can't get my hair cut today because I'm going to be out of the city traveling.
He could have just been like, "Can you do tomorrow? Today doesn't work for me."
Yeah.
Yeah, but then I'm like, but then I figured the barber would think I was being cagey or lying then. Because why wouldn't I tell him
So
where
you
I
think
was?
the truth would sound like a lie.
I think the truth would sound like a lie, so I was like, I'll just say I'm
You think
out of the
lies
city.
sound like the truth.
And then we were talking about what if the barber was like, oh yeah, where are you going? And I would have been like, I'm going to Orange County to visit my Aunt Sandy. And he's like,
Aunt
oh,
Soupy.
I'm getting my Aunt Soupy in Orange County. He goes, oh, Aunt Soupy? Maybe you can bring her and
she
she can.
single?
Yeah. And I can be like, oh, Aunt Soupy, she just got divorced. It's still raw for her, so I can't set you up with my Aunt Soupy. And that way he knows that I'm telling the truth about not being able to get my hair cut because I'm talking about my Aunt Soupy in Orange County's divorce.
And we were saying that Robert would have to hire a Ukrainian prostitute
to play
Aunt Soupy.
He's like, well, I'd love to meet Aunt Soupy so that I know you're not lying to me. And I'm like, great, I'll bring her to my next appointment. And then I have to hire a call girl to come in with me.
And then he's like in debt deep with the Ukrainian mafia.
All because I told a little white lie to avoid getting my hair cut.
But it's just like, why wouldn't you just say, can you do tomorrow? Today is not good for me.
Also, her name is Soupy because I think you said Aunt Sue and I heard Soupy. And then
Yeah.
that's why she's Aunt Soupy.
Yeah. I was like, I'm visiting my Aunt Sue. And then my barber goes, I'm sorry, did you say Aunt Soupy? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, and by the way, you've been calling me Robert. It's Walpert, man.
Oh, yeah, but then the scheduling ended up not working for him because he was like, I think you said out of town for the week or like, and then he was like, okay, sorry.
I think I
like
might have
I
said
said,
out of time for the
for the
weekend.
weekend or
You like
something.
created a predicament for yourself with your lie that
Yeah.
made your haircut less convenient.
And then he
for
was like,
you.
what about tomorrow? And you were like, shoot, tomorrow works for me, but I can't.
But I already
say
said
that.
I was out of That's right. I was like,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
said, oh, I'm out of town for the
So
weekend.
then you effed yourself.
And he goes, well, I can do
Even
tomorrow.
more.
And the thing is, I could do tomorrow, but I accidentally
couldn't
already said
say-
weekend.
you
So now I
couldn't
gotta
go
be like,
back on it.
yeah, I gotta be like, oh man, it's Aunt
Soupy's birthday.
It's Aunt Soupy's birthday.
And I was saying,
And
what
he's
kind
like,
of
can I come to the birthday party?
And I was like, yeah.
And then we had to throw a birthday party.
I have to
for
throw
Aunt
and I have to have the
Soupy,
call girl.
Ukrainian
I have to
call
throw a fake birthday party in Orange County for a call girl pretending to be my aunt in order for my barber to know that I'm not lying to him about being unavailable.
She's like, hello, I'm Aunt Soupy.
Yeah. Hello, I am Aunt Soupy.
Robert, he is not lying.
He's not
He is
lying.
not lying.
Very
It's
honest
my
boy.
birthday.
Yeah.
But I was saying, what kind of mental illness is it where every time someone suggests a plan that you don't really want to attend, you have to invent a fake aunt?
Well,
like,
every
that's
time.
Robert's mental illness.
Well, it's also I remember one time when I was a younger lad, I was getting my haircut at Great Clips. Man, it's always the haircuts.
always the
For some
haircuts.
reason, that throws me off. I'm already like
sure that's
socially
symbolic.
weird, but it throws me
like
off
his
somehow.
hair is like kind of an intimate.
But when I was in, I want to say like 8th grade, 9th grade, I was getting my haircut and they asked me where I went to school. And I went to school at like a very like ritzy private school. But I didn't want to say that because then I was like, oh my God, then they'll think I'm like some like ritzy, annoying rich kid. So I just said I went to like the public high school that was across the street. And she goes, where do you go to school? And I went, oh yeah, I went to Pattonville. And then I'm like, great lie. No one knows, but my older sister was in the waiting room and she heard me say that. And she goes, you don't go there. You go to the private school. And then she clammed up and then the person cutting my hair was like, oh, isn't that's a nice school. Why did you lie about not going there?
Wait, what'd you say? What was your reasoning?
Oh, I said I always wanted to go to the public high school. So I think I just wish I could go there. So I just said that I did go there to make the wish come true. I think
And
I
what'd
literally
she
said
say
that.
to that?
I think we had a lot of silence for the rest of the haircut. And it was awkward.
Oh,
But again, the problem there was that the lie was found out, not the lie itself.
I also one time lied about where I went to school to a hairstylist because
Why is everybody lying to their hairstylist?
well,
Yeah.
it was based on her assumption. So basically, when I was in high school, if you don't know my lore, I was fat. Okay, I was fat.
And there we go.
When I was fat,
Young
people-
old bingo. We
people
just got
assumed-
Dana's fat.
Take a shot every time Dana
But
said
people
she was
assumed
fat.
I was old when I was fat.
Oh,
And
wait, people would think you were my
people would think I
mom.
was Eve's mom. And I mean, Tim Dillon famously said like fat kids are adults.
Right.
Yeah, infamously, I would say.
Infamously. Anyway, but I was fat and people assumed I was older, whereas like now people assume I'm much younger. But basically I was getting my hair cut and I was like, oh, like I want the student discount because like I went to the local high school. And the lady looks at me and she goes, you go to Stanford, you go to college? And I just like was so embarrassed that she thought I was old that I was just like, yeah. And so I got a lesser discount on my haircut.
Oh my god.
Well, I was so yeah.
I mean, that's all.
She's like, yeah, right. You just clocked out of your shift, honey.
Right. Like she was just like skeptical that I could possibly be in school. And I was like 14 or 15.
Well, speaking of lying for no reason, my social skills were so bad in high school that I remember all the cool guys in my high school would always play pickup basketball with each other. And in my head, I would always be like, man, they're so popular. That's why they all play basketball together. I'd love to be popular one day. That way I could play basketball with all the cool guys. And then one day, one of the guys invited me to that basketball game with them. And I immediately went, I have a dentist appointment, so I can't. It was like a Sunday. I didn't have a dentist appointment. And
Like
then
it happening was too.
it was too
much-
real. Suddenly it was too real. Because then I'd be
couldn't
there
do
like,
it?
how do I play basketball with the popular guys?
Wow.
How many lies would I have to create once I'm there, you know?
Right. Well, you'd be jeans kid.
Yeah.
You'd show up in jeans.
But that's when I realized, like, oh, I don't want to be popular and have a lot of friends. I want to be popular and have a lot of friends.
Dude,
like,
you
it's
like
the
daydreaming.
yearning.
You like
It's the,
daydreaming.
I want to yearn, you know?
That's actually relatable as fuck because I think the same thing actually is probably true for me as well. Where it's like I almost like liked. I mean, I remember being happier and having a better time when I was like outcasted formally because then I could just be like on the outside looking in, romanticizing what could be if they like invite me.
I want to listen to sad music
Yeah.
by myself and wish I could get invited to the big party, then get invited to the big party and just stand in the corner like,
Y'all are
Yeah.
pathetic.
I mean, we are.
yeah, in many ways we are.
Like Robert and I are losers in many
Yeah.
ways.
and in so
In
many ways we're
society's eyes,
losers.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it's funny that you've been doing these lies that have inconvenienced you your whole life, and you just have never
Never
it's
stopped.
Never
Never
stopped.
thought to
It's never
Well,
stopped.
I also remember that I would lie about where I lived a lot. So, for example, like there was like a really, really nice big house that was right near
so
my
you're
house.
lying about not going to a nice school, and then you're lying about living
He's
in a
lying
nicer
about
People who are
house.
not at the
Yeah.
nice school, I'm lying and saying I'm not at the nice school. But to people who
you're
are at the nice school,
adjusting-
I'm lying
You're
and
adjusting
saying
your lies based on the person.
I'm in a big nice house. Yes,
It's
of
not
course.
one size fits all.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
like, when it
To,
comes
to,
to
to the
lies.
barber, I have an Aunt Soupy. To the popular guys, I have a dentist appointment.
You're like, I want them
I'm
to think
wheeling
I'm
and dealing.
Queen
It's an
T.
Aunt Soupy for you. It's a dentist appointment for you. It's an Uncle Ricky for
You get a
you.
lie.
It's
You
a peg
get a
leg for
lie.
you.
I made eggs for you.
Look under your chairs. All of you are leaving here with a lie tonight. They reach under their chairs. They're like, I got explosive diarrhea, so I can't come to the birthday. What'd you get? It's like, oh, my grandpa got mugged, so I can't play football. That was another one. Okay. This is real. This is
He had a
real.
heart attack. Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry, I'm spoiling the story. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, so this is 100% real. I was technically on the football team, but I was so bad at football and I also hated it. So I would always come up with excuses
combo.
to get out of going to football practice. But one day my excuse flew a little too close to the sun and I
geez.
accidentally used an excuse that was just a little bit too intense. So we're in the locker room, like getting ready to go out to football practice, and I didn't want to go. So I very loudly announced that, oh, my grandpa got mugged and he's in the hospital and I have to go visit him. And then everyone kind of looks at me. Everyone stops what they're doing and looks at me, which
There would be no follow-up questions for that, Tracy.
I truly did. But as soon as I saw everyone look at me, I'm like, okay, so this is not the reaction you want when you give an excuse. So then what did I do? I went, just kidding. Let's go play some football.
Just kidding.
And then because I'm like, I had to walk it back. And then I went out there and had the most awkward football practice of my life. Everyone was like giving me looks and like whispering, like we'd get back from a drill and I go to the quarterback and I'm like, hey, I was open. Why didn't you throw it to me? And the quarterback's like, yeah, it's because you said your grandpa was mugged.
And then you walked
And
it
then you
back
walked it back.
immediately.
I thought that was too weird.
Wait, have I talked about the story where to get out of swimming in PE, I said that my cat drowned in a pool?
Oh,
I love that.
Have I talked about that on the podcast?
No, but
No.
I love this story.
Okay, so basically in high school, I was fat.
Bingo,
And
young old
drink
bingo.
Every time I say that. And I didn't want to do the swimming units. Like, I didn't want anyone to see me in a swimsuit, obviously. And so I told my PE teacher that I couldn't swim because I was traumatized because I had watched my cat drown while I was in a 3-story building and I was on the top floor and I couldn't get down from the 3-story building
What
in
a
time
tale.
to save my
What a
drowning
tale.
cat. And it worked. That worked. I
Wow.
didn't have to swim. But like all
Wasn't
that.
she trying to help you work through your fear, though?
Yeah, she was. She was like, Dana, I think it's really important. Like, let's just put your feet in. And I had to like go along with it. And I'd be like, and then I would pretend that
You had to pretend you were grappling with PTSD.
I'm just imagining Tibby.
And I'd like put my feet in and I'd be like,
Oh my god. So much more work than swimming.
anyway. But okay, Robert and I actually, it's so funny because I'm like, it's so funny that I'm a failed cheerleader and you're a failed football player and we're just like telling lies.
We're just liars.
Pathological liars.
Yeah. Well, like famously after I would skip football practice, I couldn't go home, but I would just drive to the McDonald's. There was a McDonald's like down the street from my high school, and I would just drive there and like sit in the parking lot. And then one day, football practice got out early, and all the guys from the football team came to the McDonald's.
No.
And I literally had to like just like recline my seat and just like lay like this. And of course, they ate inside. They had a whole meal. They were all bonding with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I think, and I thought they didn't see me. I thought they didn't see me, but like maybe they did. Maybe they were like, hey, Gene's kid is hiding in his car out there. Do you guys see that? Should we go say hi? No, we definitely don't want to talk to him. He'll probably tell us like his grandma got lupus or something. We don't want to deal. I think the coast is clear, so I like slowly roll up and just everyone is surrounding my car, just like,
bruh.
Yeah. Here's the thing about football. I like hated it and I didn't like it, but then like after, obviously years after, I like would like play Madden, and I actually like as I was playing Madden, I was like, oh yeah, football's actually kind of fun.
Go.
Years
on
later,
the screen.
kind of on the screen, but also I was like, oh man, I think I'd also kind of talked myself out of like I was like, oh, football clearly isn't something for me, and then like years later, I actually kind of grew to appreciate it. I'm like,
Some
oh, too late.
people are watchers.
Yeah.
Not players. But
Some
Which
players
is the premise
on
of our
Madden.
favorite movie, Nerve.
Right.
Right.
I love Nerve.
It's
With
our
Emma
favorite
Roberts
movie.
and Roberts look like
Dave Franco.
I love Nerve. And MGK's in it.
And MGK. The whole gang.
Yeah.
The Three Musketeers.
One time I lied to my hairdresser when she was like, how often do you wash your hair? And I didn't want her to think I was gross. So I was like, like 2 to 3 times a week. And she was like, oh, you should really wash it less. Like, it's better to wash it once a week. And I was like, girl, I'm just kidding. I only wash it once a week. I didn't want you to think I was gross.
I just like to point this out here. We started this by Chubs tells weird lies, and then by me taking that upon my shoulders, it opened up to like now suddenly they're both telling weird lies.
I admitted it to her like right after.
Well,
Like,
I
once she
admitted my
said-
grandpa didn't get mugged right after. It didn't help me. It made it weirder, but I still did it. That also reminds me of one time in college, a girl walked up to me and gave me a cake, and it was like a chocolate cake, and she was like, try this. And I tried it. It tasted so fucking bad, but it was clearly a homemade chocolate cake, so I didn't want to be rude. So I went, it's really good. And she went, tricked you. It's gluten-free. So you do like gluten-free cake. And I was like, I was fucking
I was
lying.
yeah.
I was lying to be nice.
Dude, lying to be nice.
And it comes back
No
and
good deed
bites
goes
you in the
unpunished,
arse.
yeah.
No good deed
Goes
unpunished.
That goes
There was
viral.
silence.
We're
That was
singing
in Wicked
podcasts
too.
now.
That's
We're
in Wicked too.
singing
After she
podcasts.
turns her boyfriend into the scarecrow, and then she starts singing "No Good Deed Goes Unpunished." It's so just like he's mad that you turned him into the scarecrow, and you're like, oh, so I guess I should never try to do anything nice again.
No, that's not. You're getting the context.
Oh,
wrong.
No, that is the context.
No,
She
it's
turns him into the.
not. Oh
She
my
turns the guy into the scarecrow, turns
God.
into the skin man. She's like, well, I guess no good deed goes on. You can't even turn a hot prince into an ugly scarecrow anymore without getting punished for
No,
it.
that's not what she's literally. He hasn't been she's mid turning him as that. She doesn't even know what the spell does until later on.
Yeah.
she's not talking.
But then
about
what
that
good
that
deed is she
time.
talking about?
She's talking about like the lion cub. She's talking about like
Turning Bach into the Tin Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't even turn a munchkin into the Tin
but I'm just
Man
saying
anymore.
She's not talking about. She doesn't even know he's a scarecrow at that point.
I think this is such a classic example of like you're getting me on like a minute technicality.
It's not minute.
It's minute. The gist, you get the gist.
But it's not about the scarecrow.
But it's about the Tin Man.
And also, he's
it's
not
about the
pissed.
Cowardly Lion.
He's like, girl, it's all good. I know you love me.
Well, that's what he said to her. He's scared of her because she turned him into a straw man. I mean,
Okay.
to his buddies, he's probably like, this chick's crazy.
He has no buddies because everybody thinks
I was
that
his
chick's
buddy.
crazy.
They cut me. It was me and Ahsoka. We were
Bruh.
buddies with the Scarecrow.
Bruh.
We always joke about Ahsoka is a character that's invented by like the Star Wars spin-off shows, so the Clone Wars cartoon
Played by
and
Rosario Dawson.
the live action Disney Plus series, and we think it's so funny because the cartoon retconned it to be like Ahsoka was actually always hanging out with Anakin and Obi-Wan.
She was friends with them
Like,
behind
we're
the
expected to
scenes.
believe that Ahsoka was in all of the original Star Wars properties, but the whole time she was like
Yeah.
in the bathroom
Yeah.
or something, like right on screen.
She was right
just
on
taking-
screen in
she had
all the
IDS
movies.
during
So
Revenge.
during Phantom Menace,
Yes.
she was during Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. She was hanging out with Obi-Wan all the time, but it's just every time the movies started, she was in the bathroom.
then she'd come out after the battle
and
and
she'd
be
be like, "What's up?
What's going on?"
I'm sorry, I had diarrhea. I missed
Yeah.
it.
But like that's what they want us to believe about Ahsoka. That she was there the whole time. She was always best friends with Obi-Wan, and we're just now meeting her.
They're like, Ahsoka and Anakin were really tight during the Clone Wars. It's like, really? Because I watched all 3 prequel movies and Anakin never mentions her.
And so
whenever they try to insert like characters or lore that's like after the fact that clearly
Like Dumbledore
is
being
not
gay,
true,
for
right?
example.
That's Ahsoka.
It's called Ahsoka.
They Ahsoka Dumbledore being
You
gay.
Ahsoka Dumbledore getting ass fricked by Grindelwald.
Right.
And we
Right.
see you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, the entire time you were watching Star Wars, Ahsoka was just right off screen. Ahsoka was just leaning down to pick up her phone just out of the camera.
Just out of frame.
That's what Ahsoka was doing the whole time.
And it's like, how dumb do you think we are?
How stupid do you
How
think we
stupid
are?
do you think we are?
Yeah.
The answer is very.
Well, it's kind of like I always thought this in Ocean's 8, the all-girl
the
spin-off,
sister.
which I love. I love Ocean's 8.
Yeah.
But just there's some random moments where Sandra Bullock is always referencing, my cousin robbed a casino once
No, my
too.
brother Danny. She's always like, my brother Danny, and everyone's always like,
And she
her
goes
brother
and like
Danny.
visits his like grave.
And I'm like, what? And she's like,
And it's like,
I'm really
Danny.
close with my brother, Danny. It's like, really? Because I watched 3 movies. He never
It's like,
mentioned
how
you.
come he never recruited you?
Yeah,
for
if
the
you're so
heist?
good at heists, how come he never recruited
I mean,
you?
there's definitely an implicit sexism.
Yeah.
So real.
Retroactive.
They
Turns
now-
out Danny Ocean was deeply sexist and hated
So
his sister.
real.
They retcon Danny Ocean to be incredibly sexist and have deep familial rifts. That is also one-sided. His sister seems to like him.
Really fascinating.
Yeah. So yeah, Dumbledore's gay, Danny Ocean's sexist, and Ahsoka is taking a shit just off screen in
Just
Empire
out of
Strikes Back.
frame. Also, Enola is also in Ahsoka.
Enola's deeply in
Enola is
Like,
Ahsoka
we never
core.
heard that
We
Sherlock
never
had
heard
a
of
sister.
Sherlock's
Yeah.
sister.
And in the Arthur Conan Doyle books, Sherlock does not have a sister named Enola.
And by the way, it's
But
not
she was just
inherently
off screen.
bad.
She
The-
was solving better mysteries than him just out of frame.
yeah, way better.
Just off the page.
Just
Yeah.
off the page.
There was no at the end of the great mystery. Sherlock was never like, that was a great mystery we solved. And Watson was like, yeah, still not as good as the mystery your little sister solved, though. And we love Enola. And we
we love Enola. Like, we love this. Like,
And we,
and if you love Ahsoka, I respect that for you.
I respect that for
but,
you.
like, you can't take it lying down when they tell you, like, Ahsoka was in
like, no,
Phantom
she
Menace.
wasn't.
And then they
No,
talk
she
about they
wasn't.
talk to you like you're stupid. They're like, "What do you mean you didn't notice that Ahsoka was just off screen in Revenge of the Sith?" It's like, no, she wasn't.
They're like, yeah,
She
Ahsoka's
wasn't,
always
though.
been really close with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Stop! You didn't build
She's
that. You
always
didn't
been
make that
besties
in.
with them.
That's
Yeah,
not real.
you didn't make that
You didn't
in.
make that in. It's
You
not
didn't make
real.
that.
Just like stop trying to
Well, I will say
reap
this.
what you didn't sow.
And here's why it bothers me. It's because Ahsoka is the 4th co-host of Young Old. She's just always taking a
She's
shit
just
whenever we
always
record this
She's in-
podcast.
She's in Ahsoka's poopy corner.
She's in Ahsoka's poop corner. And Dumbledore's in that room just hooking up with the dude. And that's great.
And also, like the Obi-Wan series with Leia.
Bro,
and
that's an Ahsoka.
them pretending that little Leia and Obi-Wan were like super close and went on like these adventures together.
No, they didn't.
Like, okay, how
They
that was
didn't do that.
literally never brought up.
That's
like,
Ahsoka.
Yeah.
It was literally never brought up when they see each other again that they met and they were super close and they went on these adventures when she was a kid.
When they're going to rescue Princess Leia, I feel like that would have come up. Obi-Wan would have been like, when she was a little girl, me and her went on a lot of adventures together. They'd be like,
She's
what?
like, oh, good to see you again. Remember our adventures?
Well,
when I
also
was
when
a
she
kid.
in her little recording, not to nerd out, she goes like, "Obi-Wan, you fought with my father in the Clone Wars."
Right, she
That's what
never
she
says
says.
that we had an adventure. as a
Obi-Wan, when I was
child.
6 years old, you and I went on a bunch of adventures, just the two of us. And isn't that actually problematic, Obi-Wan?
And isn't that problematic?
Obi-Wan, what were your intent? Obi-Wan, were
So
you
real.
grooming me, Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan,
grooming her.
when you took me to color me mine.
Yeah.
Star Wars color me
On
Obi-Wan.
Tatooine.
Obi-Wan.
Wait, bruh.
Were you grooming me?
Obi-Wan, you told me that I was very mature for my age. Remember? Obi-Wan's like trying to turn off he's trying to turn off the recording. He's like, no, I think we get the message. Everyone else is like, hey,
Bruh.
we actually might want to hear this.
But also, she is really quote unquote mature for her age. Like she's the typical precocious child. We've said before that there's two types of kids. There's either the one that's like so stupid.
There's a 12-year-old going, "Mommy, I suck boob," or it's a 5-year-old who's
being like
Scientifically, it's a 5-year-old being
exactly.
like, dramaturgically and scientifically, I believe your conclusion is quite problematic.
right, and that's Leia's that one.
Or it's a 14-year-old who's going, Daddy, what do you mean you're leaving me all alone?
What do you mean?
It's like there's no middle ground ever.
Yeah.
kids are either really dumb or
geniuses.
geniuses.
Yeah.
No in between.
No in between. And it's never developmentally age appropriate.
No, no one's ever nailed it.
No one's ever written a child who
That's-
knows
yeah.
what the developmental milestones
Well,
of
they
childhood
did
look
right.
like.
They actually did a perfect job with young Ahsoka. You just never see her because she
You
was
just
off
never see
screen,
her.
but they did a great
You just
job with
never
young
see her.
Ahsoka. I think also in the cartoons they brought Darth Maul back to life.
Right.
Which I know people like, and I think good, do that for the cartoon or whatever, but I'm like, that motherfucker was dead as fuck at the end of that one movie. They chopped him in half and threw him down like a
Yeah.
garbage chute.
Yeah.
That guy was dead.
For sure.
And they're like, actually, he didn't die, and he actually went on a bunch more adventures. It's like, no, he didn't. That's okay.
To
But
me,
no, he
that's
didn't.
okay if we have a whole explanation of how actually the thing that we thought we saw wasn't real. Like in Sherlock season 2, Sherlock dies, but then the premiere of season 3 is we see the way that Sherlock's death was actually fake.
Well,
so if they did a whole, to me, I'm like, you can say whatever you want as long as you have
explain
the
it.
build up
I
for
was
the
just
payoff.
about to say, like, I actually love death fake outs.
No,
I mean,
Yeah,
I
it's
just think
fun.
well,
but if you don't,
also because all the shows I watch, everybody dies and comes back to life
Yeah.
like 8
Yeah.
million times.
Well, I'm also like, make up
But
Ahsoka,
you need
bring
to have
Darth
an
Maul back,
explanation.
but do these things, but then don't pretend that I'm weird for being like Darth Maul died at the end of Phantom Menace.
Right.
Don't be like, oh, you fool.
Right.
for being
No.
like Ahsoka wasn't off screen.
Ahsoka wasn't
Or
off
being
screen.
like,
Darth Maul did die.
Noah Nola was not there the whole time.
Yeah.
Also, like you said, Dumbledore was gay. Because,
Danny Ocean is not tight with his sister, who's actually better at heists than he is.
right. Enola's not real.
Enola's not real. She can't hurt you. That's me comforting my young son when he's having nightmares. I'm like, shh, Enola's not real. Daddy, I imagined that Enola was better at solving mysteries than I have a British child. Was even better at solving mysteries than I'm like, no, Enola's not real. Enola, you're the best at solving mysteries, I promise. Okay. Oh, and that was where, this is what I mean. We've been on a riff. We've been having so much fun, and then I say one thing, and I look over.
We get tired.
Yeah, we're burnt out.
Yeah.
You have a longer joke stamina than us.
Yeah.
I would like to say
Seems like you guys have so much energy when it's something like accusing me of like making up that I made
Then we
cereal.
could go for days.
That gives you a second, third, fourth win.
We could go for days.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I really hate the rhetoric. So we had a podcast clip go viral recently, and obviously some of the comments were like, "We should start a podcast," like essentially making fun of like us for
I
having a
didn't see
podcast. But I think that being anti-podcast is that actually demonstrates that you're the most evil person
Wait,
in the world.
what?
People
video
on a
was
podcast
on?
be like, if you're anti-podcast, that means you're the most evil person in the world.
No, but wait, what video
Well,
was that on?
I think a lot
it was
of
on
them.
the Kumon one, and like also just anytime. Wait, I wrote.
Well, it
down
was
what
on
I
the
wanna
Kumon
say.
clip, which that's the one that went really viral for us.
Oh.
So I'm kind of like,
I just saw a video on TikTok that was basically the joke was we need tariffs on podcasting equipment.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is
Podcasting
what is a
equipment is
podcast
expensive.
if not people hanging out together, having a good time, and creating art while they do that?
Well, I'm also-
Are you anti-friendship? Are you anti the creation of art? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, how bitter and cold is your heart that you're anti this?
but I am going
Good
to point out.
equipment is expensive.
Yeah. But also in that case, the guy's making a TikTok being like, we need fewer podcasters. It's like, well, you're making a content too.
Right. Anybody making content and then dunking on other people making content is hypocrisy.
You making a TikTok to complain about podcasts is like going to Cheesecake Factory to shit on the Olive Garden. It's like you're doing the same thing.
But to me,
Yeah.
it's like it's specifically the attacking of podcasts is you're specifically attacking the idea that like people like to hang out and talk with each other.
Yeah.
And you are a lonely loser making a solo TikTok about tariffs and podcasting.
And I
equipment.
agree with
That's
this
all.
until there's a podcast I want to shit on. In which case, I'll change my opinions immediately. Well, there's another comment that was like, not a single thought was had in that room. And I'm like, you're probably right.
Like,
Yeah.
honestly,
Yeah,
oh my
we're
God.
yapping.
Or someone was like, their IQ adds up to 80, and I was like, clocked us.
Got us.
Clocked our tea.
Got
Clocked
our
our
ass.
tea immediately. But just with harmful content in general, I'm always just like, then don't watch it. Like, if you, just don't watch it.
Yeah.
Period.
Then just don't do
Scroll,
it.
Close your eyes.
If you're hate watching, you're actually just watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just
You're a
watching.
fan.
You can't do anything ironically.
You can't do a
Computer
sing.
can't tell the difference between a like watch and a hate watch.
Yeah.
Just like Robert says, his man card can't tell the difference between
Yes.
he earned it with dignity
barely
or without any dignity.
Or with no dignity.
I think that there's no need to even bring dignity into it.
there is dignity
There's no need to
involved.
bring dignity. Also,
there is dignity involved.
Also, like, to our neighbor, he probably closed the door and he was like,
Wow, what a man.
I was like, I had no idea I was living next to an alpha.
What a clear bass in his voice.
Yeah, he had
said.
such a clear bass in his voice. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Our neighbor also, it's so funny. Our neighbor actually took it really well and was really kind of polite and was like, oh, is that loud for you? I'm so sorry. I'll turn it down. And it is funny that like we've allowed ourselves to go through a full spiral of he's bold, he's old, he needs to get his money up. And then we say one thing and he's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll turn it down.
I was thinking that he's like personally targeting us.
Yeah.
In reality, he had no idea we could hear it.
Yeah.
But it still does. We mostly, and we said this last night, we're just confused.
We're
just confused. It doesn't seem.
Even if he's in the middle of the desert with no neighbors, I'm like, dude, why are you listening to club music at 11 on a Tuesday?
Tuesday.
It's just
It's
confused. It's
Tuesday.
genuinely just confusing.
For what?
We're just confused at this point.
Yeah.
We're not mad.
He was listening to the
just
club
confused.
remix
We're
of Drunken
baffled.
Love, I
Yeah.
think by himself. Actually, now that the problem
It wasn't even like a party. It
No.
was, he just
Unfortunately, now I'm creating an image in my head that is kind of cool as hell. Just a
Right.
guy who sits in his backyard listening to the
No,
club
that's
music at
dope.
full volume of Drunken Love.
Yeah, that's dope.
Man.
look. He's cooler than us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, here's the deal. When I see another guy doing his thing, because I'm a guy who does my fucking thing,
Yeah.
I
Right.
kind of just gotta dap him up and be like, what's up, brother? We're in this together. You know what I
Also,
mean?
I respect a fellow unemployed.
Yeah. Actually, we now are gonna do a full
All the way
180.
back around to
This
what
guy
it is.
rips.
We're deeply sorry.
We wanted him to
We're
invite us
wrong.
over.
Yeah,
T,
and
invite
that's also
us.
that's been the whole problem this
Is
whole
we're
time.
sad that we're not there.
Well,
We wanna get
said-
invited over.
We were like, can you turn it down? It's giving me FOMO.
Yeah.
or you could turn it up.
Or you turn it up
let us
and
in.
All
invite
I
me
want
inside.
is for a neighbor to invite us over to his backyard parties until he does, in which case I have a dentist appointment with my
And then
Aunt
he has a
Soupy.
disappointment with Aunt Soupy.
My Aunt Soupy has a dentist appointment with me, and my grandpa
is mugged.
just got mugged.
Yeah.
I like that we're all extremely judgmental of other people, but at the end of the day, like we're all like pathological liars with no friends.
Okay, my lie was definitely the least bad.
I think Eve's lie was the weirdest, I think.
Washing your hair?
No.
Eve also has this other thing, and now that we're going to jump onto another Eve subject that I always...
no.
Oh, God.
I like roasting Chubs. I don't like roasting Eve.
Yeah, well, because you're Eve and I'm Chubs. That's actually why. Did you know there's a reason for that? It's because you're yourself
it's
and not
funny.
others.
I love roasting Chubs.
I
but-
love when the joke
hate
is on
roasting
others,
Eve.
but I don't like it when the joke is
Have
on
you guys ever
me.
noticed that it's more fun to dish it out
Than
than
take
take it?
it?
Eve has this thing where
I'm bored already.
she refuse. She loves to ask other people to do her a favor,
no.
but she refuses to acknowledge it's a favor. Like one time she was like, can you guys drive me to pick up this pair of shoes at this specific store in the mall? But like only if you guys were like gonna go there anyway.
It's like, no,
No,
we
we're
weren't
not gonna go there.
Like if you
if
want,
we go there, it'll be for you. And she goes, I don't want you guys to like go out of your way, but like if you're going that direction, can you drop me off there? And we're like, well, no, we'll go there for you. We'll take you there.
They
And
were
then we
going
go- so then we-
anyway. They loved that mall and store, and they got their own shoes.
We did not get our own shoes. We
separated
never
of
go
me.
there.
But first, we say, okay, yes, we'll take you to the mall. And she's like, no, well, you're going to the mall. I'm just coming. And we're like,
Yeah.
no, we're going
We're
to the mall. for
taking you to
We
the
have
mall.
nothing to the mall.
She
She's like, no, but
asked
you're
us to
already
take-
going there. And she has to convince herself that this is true. It's not. Like,
She
we're
has to
taking her to the
convince
mall.
herself that she's not in favor debt.
So then we get to the mall. This location doesn't have the shoes that she wants. And she finds another location that has the shoes that she wants. And she's like, any chance you guys would be wanting to go to this shopping center?
Any chance you guys would be independently wanting to go to this other shopping center? No,
No,
we'd go
but
for
we'll
you.
take you to get the shoes. And she's like, well, only if, there's something that you'd want at the shopping center. And then I could just go with you guys. Like, won't just like own up to the fact that it's like, no, this errand is for you.
It's just we're just doing it
Like,
for you,
we're
and
doing
it's
it
not a big
for you.
deal.
It's not a
We
big
weren't
deal.
making a big deal, but we're happy to do it.
But, like,
for some
it's
reason,
not,
Eve
like-
couldn't allow her brain to think that she's in favor debt. That we're just doing her a favor.
I hate dunking on Eve.
Yeah. And so last night, Eve was like, "Oh man, the laundry detergent I ordered hasn't come yet. Can you guys pick it up tomorrow morning?" And we're like,
I didn't say that.
Well, we said.
but right there, you see what I mean? She refuses, and we go, well, we could just get it tomorrow morning. And Eve goes, well, you can get it, but I didn't say that you guys should go get it. So you're just going and getting it totally independent. I'm like, no, we're happy to get the laundry detergent.
You
and
volunteered.
And then when I jokingly was like,
didn't say
and then I
anything.
jokingly was like, sure, we're happy to get the laundry detergent as a favor to you, Eve. Eve goes, I'll just actually get the laundry detergent myself later in the day. It's like, no, we're gonna get it.
Well, I was like, hold on, this is a favor. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll
Now,
do it.
of
Forget
why
Forget
are you
about
so
it.
allergic to favors?
Why are you
why
allergic
is
to
there
favors?
favor done?
You're like, can you give me a ride to my boyfriend's apartment? But only if you two were going there already. It's like, no, we weren't going there already.
Only if you happen to be going
Yeah,
there.
only if you happen to be going to my boyfriend's apartment already, then I will like take a ride to my boyfriend's apartment. It's like, no, we would be driving you.
But then they were already going to get the laundry detergent, so I was like, "Hey, while you're there, do you want to get me some gel nail polish?"
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh boy, when you give a mouse a cookie,
When you give an Eve a favor."
detergent."
But when you give Eve a not favor.
It's not a favor.
Not a favor.
also,
Yeah.
which Target did you go to?
We went to the CVS Target, so it had a limited selection, and I'm sorry.
Well, it's
Yeah.
okay. No, I found the gel base coat in the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
brand.
Good.
But
They were just out of it at the CVS Target.
Eve's like, hi, can you pass me my water bottle? But only if you were already going to be moving that water bottle from that end of the table to my end of the table before I
I
asked.
can intercept it.
In which case, I'd be
By the
happy to
way,
take
I'm
it.
giving you the opportunity to be like, no,
But no,
you never
we're
back
not.
down.
But no,
And
we're
then-
not saying no.
Also, we have no problem with like the actual action. Like,
We had
it's
no
like,
problem
there's
taking
no
to get your shoes. It's
problem.
just funny that you and your brain have to pretend that we're not doing something for you.
Yeah.
That we're not doing a deed for Eve.
Like we have to pretend like it's convenient for us to do
Yeah.
something that obviously isn't convenient.
It isn't
for
convenient.
us.
We're going
But
out
that's
of our
okay.
way.
It's like we're fine.
We literally don't mind.
We are happy to do it.
And then we'll say things like, we don't mind doing this favor for you. And you'll go, well, if you don't want to do it, I can just fucking do it myself. If you guys don't want to fucking do it. It's like, no, we want to do it. We want to do it for you.
We didn't happen to want to go to Journeys.
Yeah.
Like we would take you to Journeys if you needed to go.
She was like, only if you guys were heading that way already. We're not.
Not.
This is the worst day of my life.
I think
I was so happy when we were dunking on Chubs. Now I'm miserable. So, what do you think of that?
I got nothing to say.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Is
I'm
your
just
knee
seeing
going to
if-
be on my leg for the whole pod?
Oh my god!
I'm just saying, what the fuck?
I do have a dunk on Chubs on here, which is
Well, sure. Well, then I'll probably have to find a dunk on Eve. I'm sure I have a dunk on Eve somewhere. So, man.
what's the dunk on
Which is
Chubs? Chub is scared of Whole Foods, not the store.
Oh my God.
But like just the concept of foods that are
Eve
not processed.
Eve brought some mango
Robert-
into the dining room, and I only saw she had it cut in half, and I only saw the top, and I just
And
saw
he
the
goes,
yellow
is
top.
that a grilled cheese?
It looked kind of like melted cheese to me. So I asked if it was grilled cheese.
It was
The
a
mango
champagne
looked
mango.
like grilled
open
cheese.
phase. But Robert also lied to me about not liking mango. Like one time he was like, "Oh, I don't really like mango," and I was
My
like,
Aunt Soupy got food poisoning from mango. And I had to skip football practice.
and then I was like, "You've never tried mango, have you?" And he was like, "No, I've tried mango." And then I make him try mango, and he loves it.
I do love it.
Proving he never had mango. And then even
Well, on that note-
after he mistook the mango for grilled cheese, he literally goes, "No, I've eaten lots of mango, probably at like a bar mitzvah or something."
In
And
a
we're
fruit
like, "What?"
salad.
I probably had. I for sure had a mango before I met Dana. I think it was probably. I always thought
But when
back
people
of like.
say things like, "I don't like mango," I'm like, "You've never had mango."
But I'm
Everyone
sure I
likes
did. I'm
mango.
sure at like one of the bar mitzvahs I went to, I'm like, I can imagine.
And
I
we were
think
like,
there was like a
okay, so
fruit
20
salad.
years.
20 years ago.
But does
Maybe
that
had
not
mango
count?
20 years ago.
Does that not count?
But then
Also, nobody really puts mango in fruit
no,
salad.
it's too good a fruit to waste on a fruit
I'm picturing
salad.
specific bar and bat mitzvahs that I think had like a really good spread, and there was always a big fruit
think
option
that you maybe had mango 20 years
at
ago.
a bar or bat mitzvah. Well, maybe several, but like, or even like
Please
a like.
sound
a-
off if you were at the bar bat mitzvah he's talking about and if they had mango or
Well,
not.
I just seem to recall that there were like there was mango that was available to me, and I'm sure I had a nibble here or
Sure.
there as a
But
youth.
this also proves what
nibble
Eve's
here
saying,
or
which is that
there.
Robert is scared of Whole Foods.
Okay, but the other
he's
thing-
scared of like just healthy, normal
Yeah.
food.
The other thing was that I had a frozen burger patty that I made, like from the burger meat, and then I made it into a little patty and then put it in the freezer, and then I was recooking it, and then Robert was like, "What is that?"
It didn't look like any. I've
What
seen
is
raw
that?
burger meat. It didn't look like I'd ever seen before.
What is
I'd never
that?
seen one like out of a freezer.
And then
It
he
looked
goes,
different.
He's looking at it. He's like, "Is it gonna rise?"
It just looked kind of weirdly. It looked kind of like a smash burger, but not. It looked strange to me.
I mean, it wasn't like I made it very thin,
Yeah, it looked odd to me.
but it was just like so clear that he's never seen food like prepared. Like he's only ever seen
Unprepared.
food when it's.
I've seen
done.
food prepared. I've prepared my own food. They just don't believe it. But there's also one time Eve was making. What were you making? You were making like
chicken and rice.
She was making chicken and rice, and I said, "Oh, is that what are you making? Chicken noodle soup?"
And it's like
and
there
she
was
acted
no-
like I was on another
Because
planet.
there were no noodles.
There were no noodles.
But
There
it's
was no
chicken
soup.
and rice and chicken noodle soup are so close to one another. There are a lot of the same base
not.
ingredients. It looks a lot the same. Also, I'm looking at a pot. It looked like chicken noodle soup, and I said, "Is it
literally
chicken noodle
not.
soup?" And it
There
was chicken
no
and
noodles,
rice.
There was no soup.
Where were
Yeah.
the noodles in the soup?
That's like 3 of the ingredients.
Yeah.
2 of the 3
That's
ingredients.
like me eating a piece of bread and you going, is that peanut butter jelly?
Right.
No.
Also,
Like,
you
no.
guys you've never seen ingredients. Well, no, I have seen ingredients when I use them and make them to make my own food. For example, the scrambled eggs. You guys just conveniently don't see it.
'Kay.
By the way, I did have a witness. I did have a witness last time I made scrambled eggs.
Who?
Ahsoka. All right, I think that's enough. Should we do the young old
Yeah,
song?
let's say goodnight.
Good night, young old.
It
It was a great
episode.
and Ahsoka